Welcome back, painting friends. Today we are going to paint a cute little picture of a Highland cow. You're going to need quite a few colors. So I've got make my background blue and white. So those are the colors I have on there. You can always make your background a different color. So I've got like a light blue, white, yellow, black, two different browns. I've got a light brown and a dark brown, purple, pink, and green. I always have my favorite four brushes at my studio space. It's my 1-inch flat brush, my 10-6, and one round brush. Don't forget to have a cup of water and a rag for keeping those brushes clean. And remember, if you like what you're seeing here today, like and subscribe to my YouTube channel, Painting with a Purpose, so you're kept up to date on all of my tutorials. And check out our Facebook page where we talk a lot about art. So 1-inch flat brush with some blue and white. Okay, so blue and white are both on here. And I am just going to do a back and forth motion, kind of every direction. I want kind of a messy background behind my cow. So this entire background space, I'm going to see some white, I'm going to see some blue, I'm going to see a lot of brush strokes, but just kind of fill that space in with that messy, squishy, squashy back and forth. I know that's a very technical term, but it's fun. All right, when you're finished that, wash that paintbrush off, dry that paintbrush off, and set it aside to dry. When we come back, we'll add in that cute little cow. With a dry background, I'm going to take my number 10 round brush with some white paint and just kind of outline where my cow is going to go. So I'm going to start down here towards the center, and in fact, I'm going to make it off center just a little bit. I change things when I go. So I'm going to start over here just a little bit off center. I'm going to make just a rainbow shape, a very soft, gentle line. This is going to be the top of his nose. From there, I'm just going to kind of bring it around, have it shaped out like a bean. Okay, fill that in with white paint. And then the bottom of it, I'm just going to add a little bit of pink and white to my brush, and I'm just going to make a small little smiley face right here. That's just his bottom lip. And then from there, I'm just going to outline where his head's going to be, and we're going to think of basic shapes right now. Okay, so triangle. We're going to go from the top of his nose up at an angle, both sides, top of his nose, up at an angle. Keep it really simple right there. And then we're just going to kind of round it out. And then as far as the horn goes, I've seen lots of different pictures where the horns are more out or more up. So it doesn't really matter. But what we're going to do is we're just going to take this and we're going to make a line that kind of goes out and up on this side. We're going to try to copycat that line over here. So this is our basic shape of our cow. I'm going to go ahead and just add a little quick coat of white in here. It doesn't have to be totally covered in because we do want some fun colors to show through, but just a little quick coat of white in here. And then as far as his body goes, all I'm going to do is I'm going to start right up here just between where his nose is and his head is right here. And I'm just going to kind of make a big swoop down, like big shoulders, okay? And again, I can just kind of add a little bit of color to that. It doesn't have to be totally solid. We're using browns, and that's not going to really impact that blue a whole lot. All right, I'm going to switch over to my number 6 round brush, and let's go ahead and lay out a couple more of these areas. So I have my number 6 round brush, and I'm going to just put in where his eye is going to be, and I'm going to do that with the light brown color. I'll be able to cover that over easily with the black later, but I got my nose right here. I'm going to go up just a little bit and over to the right. Okay, cows' eyes are kind of on the sides of their heads. They're not in the front. And so right over here, I'm going to take a curved line that starts here, and it's just going to kind of curve up and down. And then the bottom curve is a much gentler curve. This one over here is going to be covered by hair, so I don't even have to worry about it. So let's move from the top down, okay? Now that we've got that kind of laid out, that's really the only thing we need to have on there. Let's start at these horns. I am going to take my white paint with the smallest amount of black on it. I'm talking almost no black. And I am going to brush that color right on in here, knowing that the part of my horn that kind of connects to my head is going to be a little bit wider. And then I can grab a little bit of that light blue color, and I can just go right along the tippy top of this, a little bit of that light blue and a little bit on the bottom. Wipe that brush off and kind of brush that in. Then I'm going to take just a little bit of the light brown, kind of pop it in here a little bit everywhere. So just a couple dots of light brown. I'm going to just brush that back and forth. We're going to do the exact same thing to the other side over here. I'm going to go in with some dark brown. I'm just going to add small little lines of dark brown right down here at the bottom of these horns. I want there to be a good shadow. So the dark brown paint with my number 6 round brush, I'm just making a couple little lines. I'm going to go back and forth gently with the brush, not painting it in all the way. I'm just adding some lines to it. I want it to look like there's some texture on that horn. So about a third of the way up, and then it'll just kind of fade off. Love, love, love it. Coming back down here, we're going to go ahead and finish this eye out before we add in all of the hair. So his eye is going to be really dark except for one highlight. So I'm going to take black paint and I'm going to make just a circle right here. I don't want to paint that in. I'm going to make a smaller one right down here. But I could paint the rest of this area in black, leaving that brown outline. Now from there, I'm going to take that same brush and I'm going to use black paint and I'm going to outline this brown part. And I'm going to take some of the light brown and the black on my brush, and I'm going to take some lines and I'm just going to kind of pull them away from the eye. So I've got the light brown and the black on my number 6 round brush, and I'm just kind of pulling these lines away from the eye. I'm okay if every time I dip in I get a little more black or a little more brown, maybe have a little variation in it, that's okay. And then underneath the eye, it's going to be more of a swooping across the bottom, not so much flicking up to the top. It's more like a copycatting that bottom line, those small little brush strokes. I can go in with just light brown and add just a couple of brighter spots to the top of this. Not too many, just a little bit. Okay, let's leave that eye alone now. I'm going to go back in with this brush and we're going to start to lay out a lot of these hair areas. But what's weird is when I first thought I was going to do this, I was going to make it really dark, but I think I'm going to keep it a light cow. Okay. So I'm going to use a lot of white and a little bit of the other color. So a lot of white, and this time I'm going to do a little bit of light brown. And I'm going to start right up here at the top. I'm going to put a polka dot right in his forehead. Okay. And the reason I have that polka dot is because these hairs up top are going to kind of wave out this way. And then the hairs down towards the bottom are just going to kind of wave this direction. So they're going to start kind of from that area and kind of go down. Kind of looks like a sea urchin of some sort. And I'm only going to do that in the light brown and white right now, knowing that when I get to his nose, I'm going to have it just kind of swoop to the side. So now that that's kind of lined out where I want those to go, I just kind of wanted to see where that was going to lay out. I'm also going to look at his body down here because that's going to be a very similar texture. So I'm going to do the same thing, but I'm going to start with my dark brown. So I've got white and dark brown on my brush. And these are just going to start from just underneath his mouth and just underneath his head. And they're just going to kind of squiggle on straight down. Okay, not straight down because they're squiggling, right? But down towards the bottom of the canvas. So I know now where my hairlines are going to go. I like to do that just to make sure that I have a plan in place. Let's go ahead and work on this nose. We're going to finish this nose off before we go into speed motion and add all of these lines of color to his head and body. Number 6 round brush right down here. I'm going to take a little bit of that light brown and a little bit of pink on my brush. A little bit of light brown, a little bit of pink. And we're just going to paint this area in with those two colors, light brown and pink. Wipe that brush off with a little bit of that dark brown. I'm just going to go right down here at the bottom, outline some dark brown area. And then I'm just going to kind of brush that dark brown on up towards the top. That looks wonderful. I'm going to take the medium brown and outline the bottom lip right here. And then add some more pink in there. So medium brown and pink on the bottom lip, dark brown just above it, really helps separate those two out. I take the smallest amount of white up here at the top. I'm going to go right here on this top side. All right, his nose is looking wonderful. Okay, let's move back on to his hair then. So I think I'm going to add a little bit more brown around his eye. And I think I'm just going to make it that light brown. I think I'm just going to paint it in so that when that hair maybe doesn't come all the way to the eye, it still has some color behind it and it's not just white. So just my number 6 round brush and that light brown paint, I'm just going to color in the space around the eye where I'm not so sure the hair is going to fully hit, but I want it to definitely not have white. So here's how this goes. I'm going to jump into speed motion. I'm going to use mostly white paint, a lot of the light brown paint. I'm going to switch it up to have a little bit of dark brown in some areas on his head, and maybe even some white and yellow on his head as I pull these colors down. And I am just going to squiggle from this point, going all the way around it, radially around, not going over his nose or over that eye. It's going to take a while. So let's jump into speed motion and let's add all of these lines of hair on here. Sometimes I'm curious if I go a little too far with my mixing, and sometimes I think I do, sometimes I think I don't. So here's the thing. You have to see this and decide if you like it, how you can see all the little lines, or I'm going to show you another trick. Switching over to my number 10 round brush. I was using my number 6 for that. Switching over to my number 10, I'm going to kind of now go through here and kind of blend some of these together with a bigger brush. So if you want it to stay all wiry, keep it how it is. But otherwise, I'm going to grab my larger brush and I'm going to kind of smooth out some of the crazy and make it a little more uniform, but you still see some of the crazy under it. See that? So I use my light brown on the bottom. Up here on the top, I'm going to use my white. And I'm just going to go through here with white paint on my number 10 round brush and kind of smooth out some of these areas, allow them to, maybe he's got like a, he went to the barber today. He got his hair done, okay? And then I'm going to go back in with my number 6 round brush and just clean white paint. And I'm going to start at the tips and I'm just going to make a couple of lines that go up the top just to show some highlights. So starting at the tip of some of these and just kind of wiggling and squiggling them up. All right, let's get back to work on this little guy. So number 6 round brush with some white paint. I'm just going to add a couple of white lines on these horns. Just kind of going along the edge, following that a little bit. I'm going to go in with a little bit of white and light brown right in here. Just going to lighten up some areas around his eye. Maybe it's a her, maybe it's her eye. Down here, I'm going to add just a couple of small lines. Look, I'm doing this just so small. Okay, so number 6 round brush, super tiny. I'm adding a nice little shadow in here so that I can kind of separate the top hair from the bottom hair just a little bit. Put that dark brown on there. I'm going to go ahead and add a small little line right underneath his mouth again. Then with that dark brown paint and a little bit of black paint, I'm going to make his little nose holes, okay? And so these are just going to be 2 little circles right here. So one on this side, one on this side. And you can leave them as little circles, or you can give them like this little hook up. Wipe that brush off, grab some white paint, go right over here at the top of his nose, and add a little bit more of a distinctive white line, including just right above these little bumps. And maybe right down here on the bottom of his lip. I'm going to wipe that brush off again, grab a little bit of white paint, and I'm just going to outline the front part of his eye and then the back part, that brown that we had on there. The front and the back of that. I'm going to darken up that black at the corner of his eye. I'm going to take a little bit of dark brown paint on my number 6 brown brush, and I'm going to now add some dark lines in here. Just a couple to kind of show a little bit of definition. Not getting too crazy, and I'm making these lines kind of skinny. And then this is the crazy part. Are you ready for this? I'm going to go in with some of that blue paint, just a little bit. Don't put too much on there. I'm going to add some lines of blue in here. And this is like barely touching my canvas blue, okay? So my paintbrush is just kind of skirting along the top of the canvas, almost not touching it, so light. So there you have it. The last thing you need to do is find a color that's going to show up on your canvas and sign your name. Remember that I always like to see what you guys are painting at home, so take a picture of it and post it to my Facebook page, Painting with a Purpose. Make sure that you like and subscribe to my YouTube channel, Painting with a Purpose, so you're kept up to date on all of my tutorials. And remember, as always, stay kind, stay creative, and stay safe. Have a great day, friends. Bye now.